Yay! Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here. And like Howard and Stephen both said, it was only 8 months ago that I couldn't actually speak. I had experienced trauma, and as a result, the stuttering and the insecurity and the anxiety had become so great that I wasn't able to speak. And I was actually up at Ishmu, which is only around the corner from Life Church. And I had been there I was there for 8 weeks. And for 6 weeks of that, I wasn't able to talk at all other than say my name. And I came down to Life Church on that Sunday, and God just touched me. And I went back up to Ishmu, and I was able to start talking. And one of the guys who had come down to church with me over lunch, he said, "I know what happened to you." And I said, "What?" He said, "God touched you at church." And he wasn't even a believer. So I know that God heals, and he continues to heal. I'm not there yet. I'm still very much on the journey. But there's some things that I've learned on this journey over the last 4 years. And mental health takes no favorites. It can happen to anyone. If it can happen to someone like me, it can happen to anybody. So I'm just really happy to be able to share a couple of things that have really helped me. One of the things that people asked is, how can we help someone who is struggling with mental health? Because often you feel really helpless. You don't really know what to do. You see them struggling and you want to help, but you're not sure what to do. So today I'm just going to talk about 4 things that you could do to help someone else. And I think most of you are probably already doing them. But this is maybe just a reminder of some things that we can do to help other people. So is that okay? So I'm just going to start with number 1. And number 1 is to really be an advocate for people. I know when I was at the height of my mental illness, I wasn't able to speak. And what happens is the brain actually changes. When you're struggling with anxiety, when you're struggling with depression, when you're struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder, when you're struggling with addictions, all of those things cause a change to happen in your brain. And I'm just going to show you my hand, and I'm just going to show you the hand model of the brain. If we look at the hand, this front bit here is the frontal lobe. This middle bit here with my thumb is the hippocampus. And this part down here is the brain stem. And this part at the top here, the frontal lobe, it actually controls thinking and reasoning and memory. This part, the hippocampus, controls the fight or the flight reflex. And this part is the part, the brain stem, it really controls all the automatic functions like breathing and things like that. But what happens if you're in trauma and you have a mental health breakdown, or you're suffering from any of those disorders, is the frontal part of your brain actually flips and comes offline. So that means your memory, your thinking, your reasoning, it actually becomes offline, and you function in your hippocampus, and your hippocampus is your fight or flight. And that means that your cortisol levels are high. That means you're always on alert, and it changes your brain. And when you're functioning on that, you're not thinking, you're not remembering. And so one of the things that really, really helped me was having advocates who came and stood on my behalf and helped me when I couldn't help myself. I know at one point my daughter, she came up from Canberra and she stayed with me because my medications weren't working, and she could recognize that from some calls that she had with me. So she took time off work. She came and stayed with me. She said, "Mum, I'm taking you back to your doctor." She came with me and she said to my doctor, "These are not working." And the doctor was kind of trying to write me off a little bit and, "Oh, she'll be right." And Hayley said, "No, you don't understand. my mum's not like this. This is not working. We need something else. And so in that case, I couldn't really stand up for myself. I couldn't say what I needed because, again, my brain wasn't working. But my daughter Hayley was able to do that on my behalf. And her being an advocate for me was just what I really needed at that time. And Stephen, my dear husband, he was also very much an advocate for me. When doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists and everyone are talking about treatment plans forward and what can happen, I wasn't able to really understand or engage or even have an opinion or remember what about. And so because Stephen could come to those, talk to me about them, and again, I really needed him as an advocate. I think that this is actually something that Soul Cafe does really, really well, because many of our guests need advocates. They might need an advocate to come with them to go to the doctor. They might need an advocate to help them with employment. And that's what Soul Cafe does. It comes alongside and it's an advocate for them. So it's something that our church is actually doing really well already. And I want to celebrate that, because I know I really needed someone to advocate for me. And of course, when we look scripturally, Jesus, he's our greatest advocate. He advocates on our behalf before the Father daily for us. So Jesus sets the example for us of being an advocate. And so if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. So I want to make sure that where I can, I'll advocate for other people. And I'm just so thankful that people advocated for me. So that's something, firstly, that if you're having a friend or family suffering with mental illness, that you could be for them. Or if you are struggling with mental illness, then maybe that's something that you need someone to come along as an advocate for you. Number 2, love, acceptance, and unconditional love, really. That was just so powerful for me. When I came to Life Church, I wasn't able to talk. When we were introduced, Stephen would say, "Hello, I'm Stephen, and this is my wife, Kerry," and I would hide behind him, and I wasn't able to talk to anybody. My anxiety levels, my panic attacks were so high. So I just kind of stood behind him, and he talked for me. But the response from our beautiful family at Life Church was so welcoming and so accepting. I felt complete love. I felt acceptance. I didn't feel like I was odd, which I felt most of the time. I felt really like it was a place that I could be myself and be accepted, even with my stuttering, even with my anxiety, even with my panic attacks. I went to Alexa's ladies group, those beautiful, beautiful ladies. I know the first time I went, my social worker took me and she met me at the door with Alexa, because I couldn't actually walk into the building myself. I couldn't go up the stairs. I couldn't go into this room full of people I didn't know. It was just too overwhelming. It wasn't something I was able to do. And Alexa met me, she took me up, and I literally sat in the corner and cried for the whole hour or however long it was. And all the women were so beautiful. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel shame. I just felt total love and acceptance for how I was in the state that I was. And I came back and they did it the same the next week. And this is what I found at our beautiful church. There was just this love and acceptance. And really, that's what Jesus models. He loved us Yet while we were still sinners, he died for us. He lavished his love upon us. Let me see. John 1:3-1. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. Romans 5:8. But God demonstrates his love for us in this: while we were still sinners, he died for us. Unconditional love, total acceptance. He saw us where we were at and loved us anyway. So I want to give a big cheer for Life Church and for Soul Cafe, because I think that we really are reaching out to the community, reaching out to people like me who really needed love and acceptance. I needed to belong. And I'm so thankful that we stumbled across Life Church when we did, and were able to come and just be part of the family there. Now I want to do that for other people as well, as I'm on this healing journey as well. So, number 3. We don't have to fix the person. We just need to be present. And I think, I don't know. I think it's a man thing that, you tell them a problem and they want to fix it, but really all you want is them to hear it. Maybe, I don't know. I see a couple of smiles from men, they understand. But, when we are in a state of mental anxiety or mental illness, you can't fix us. You can come alongside us, you can encourage, but you can't necessarily fix us. Do you know why? Because there's only one person who can fix us, and that's Jesus Christ. I went to psychiatrists, psychologists, I had treatments, and all of those things really did contribute to my walking into more healing and wellness. But ultimately, we are body, we are mind, we are spirit. And if we only look at the body, or we only look at the mind, and we don't look at our spirit area, then we're not going to receive complete healing. I love Isaiah 61, verse 1, and actually the whole chapter. This is what it says. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon us, because the Lord has appointed me to, and it's talking about Jesus. This was his calling. This was what his purpose here on the earth was for. The Spirit of the Lord was upon him, appointed him to bring good news to the poor. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captive, to set the captive free, to comfort all who mourn, to give beauty for ashes, to give gladness instead of mourning, and to take our shame away and give us joy. Isaiah 61, that's what Jesus came to do. He is the healer. He is the restorer. He is the one who reduces our shame. He is the one who turns it around for good. I'm forever thankful. All those other things have really helped, but ultimately we can't heal anyone, but Jesus can, and I'm living proof of that. I know I've still got a long way to go. I've actually been on this mental health journey for 4 years now. I think it was probably the worst last year, but considering 8 months ago I couldn't speak, and now I'm in Croatia sailing on a sailboat, sharing the love of Jesus with other people, and even talking to you today, that's not possible without the hand of God on my life. And I'm just so thankful for him that he's intervened in my life. Yes, I've done all the other work that I've needed to do. I've done the psychologist, I've done the psychiatrist, I've done the treatments, I've done the drugs. I've done all of those things, but ultimately God is our healer. He is our restorer. He is our deliverer. And I'm really thankful. So don't feel like you have to fix anybody, because really you can't, but Jesus can. And so what we can do is we can bring people to the Father. We can say, hey, I know somebody who can touch you where you're at. And I love that Bible verse that says he reached down into the miry clay and he lifted me out. He sees us in our mess. He sees us in our struggles, and he reaches down. We don't even have to reach up to him. He reaches down to us and he lifts us up. Oh, I'm so thankful for his unconditional love, for his ability and power to heal and to fix and to restore. Number 4, and my last one. Speak life. Remind them who they are. I think because I like I said, with the brain, my brain was offline for so long. My memory wasn't working. I actually forgot who I was. People would say to me, oh, Kerry, remember when you did this, or remember when you did that? And I couldn't remember. And so for someone to come and to speak life into me again, to say, hey, Kerry, when you led me really well. When you spoke that word of kindness, when you made that cupcake for me, when you did these things, it helped me. For people to speak those things into me and to remind me who I am is invaluable, because we're more than an illness. The illness doesn't define us. We're created in the image of God. There's a plan and a purpose. And the gifts that he's given you, even with a mental illness, are not cancelled. They're still there. Who you are is still there. So speak life. I know in the Bible, in Ezekiel, the prophet, God took him out into the desert and there was a pile of dead bones there. And God said to him, what do you see? And he said, I see dead bones. And God said to him, prophesy to the dead bones. Now that seems a strange thing to do, but this is what it says. It says, prophesy to those bones and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to them. I will make breath into you and you will come to life. I will put breath in you and you will come alive. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Our words are really powerful. Our words have the power of life and death. Why not give that gift to someone and speak life into them? See who they are. See how God created them and what he created them for, and remind them of it. Speak into it. I love Jeremiah 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And I know I've spoken that over many people, and now they speak it back over me, which I'm really thankful for, because God does have a plan. And my precious daughter, Haley, she sent me an email and she said, Mum, you're my hero. You did this, that, the other thing. This is who you are to me. And by her doing that, she spoke life to me. She reminded me of who I was. What a gift. And, you know, we can give that to anybody. And, you know, sometimes even asking God, who do you see they are? Who did you create them? That we could see the person from his eyes, not necessarily our own eyes, and then speak life to them so that they can be restored and renewed. So I'm not going to go for too long, but I'm just going to recap here. The 4 things: 1, be an advocate. 2, give someone unconditional love and acceptance. 3, you don't have to fix them. 4, speak life. And like I said before, we are body, soul, and spirit. Now, I know that even as we're sitting here in Life Church today, as we're in a community, you would know some people who are struggling with mental health. You might yourself be struggling with mental health. You might be lonely. You might be broken in spirit. You might be sick. You might be needy. But I just want to share again, my testimony is that God is the God who heals. God is the God who restores. God is the God who brings hope where there is no hope. God is able to do more than we can possibly dream, ask, or even imagine. And if you're in need today of healing, if you're in need of a touch from God, if you're needing restoring, if you're lonely, I would encourage you, reach out to God, reach out to those around you, reach out to Howard or to Rick or to Chris or to other beautiful, beautiful people at church who know Jesus, and ask them to pray with you, because I know I like to think that I'm God's little princess, but I'm no more special than anybody else. He loves you just as much as he loves me. And just as he's been healing and restoring me, he wants to heal and restore you as well. So today, I just want to speak that hope to you. I want to speak that life to you. And I would encourage you to reach out to those around you and ask them to pray with you as well. You don't need to be on the journey on your own. Even if you have isolated yourself, you don't need to be on your own. There's people around who can come alongside you, love you unconditionally, and help you on that journey towards mental health and wholeness.